Please tell me how you're out of order. You're out of order. How do they operate, trustees? How do they operate?
There were countless interactions just like this, elevated voices and heated debates about spending and the lack of a new budget.
Mayor Tiffany Henyard was a no-show for this special meeting called by village trustees, but she was still the target of scathing public comment.
I'm not going to stop until she's behind bars.
And at some point, she is going to have to answer to some of this.
Tensions between the Doden trustees and Mayor Tiffany Henyard are at an all-time high, and the conflict is only escalating. The spotlight has been on Henyard's controversial decision to hold a meeting without the trustees, and now the roles are reversed, with the trustees meeting in her absence. Henyard, who has faced mounting criticism, reached a breaking point when trustees accused her of mishandling village finances. Outraged residents are demanding answers, while Henyard counters with allegations of harassment and political maneuvering. It's a chaotic standoff, so let's break it down.
News between Dalton's embattled mayor and the board of trustees.
Trustees say the village is facing financial disaster, and they blame the mayor for mismanagement. She says this is all just political retribution. WGN's Eric Rung live in Dalton for us this morning. Eric.
Well, good morning. The next big development in this story could come a little later this week. That is when former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot is expected to release some of her findings in her investigation into the village's finances. For months, it's been anything but business as usual at Dalton's village meetings.
People around you that wants what's best for the people, not what's best for Tiffany.
People need, and watching as this village being ran into the ground.
The fight over the village's finances continues to be at the center of this tug-of-war between Dalton's mayor and several trustees. They accuse her of overspending and mismanaging the village's money, while she and her allies accuse them of playing political games.
This village is bleeding. If these residents knew the truth, they'd hit the roof. This is targeted. This is harassment.
Board members last night voted to limit the use of the village credit cards, lay off a handful of workers, including placing the deputy police chief, Lewis Lacey, on administrative leave.
Trustees' primary concern centers on Dalton's finances. The township's budget has been dwindling quickly, and many blame Mayor Henyard. Trustees have accused her of unauthorized spending, alleging she's been manipulating the village's funds in a so-called shell game. This involves moving money around in confusing ways, and it's not just minor sums. She's reportedly spent thousands without proper approval.
30 more money troubles in South suburban Dalton. New welcome banners recently went up in that village.
But the company that created them says it has not been paid.
When the trustees recently voted to cancel some of her upcoming events, Henyard didn't take it well. She responded with a long tirade, accusing them of harboring personal grudges for refusing to support her lavish events. She claimed the trustees were targeting her, not just the events, showing her tendency to personalize every conflict.
At one point in this 3-hour meeting, Supervisor Henyard demanded Finance Director Robert Hunt read through more than 100 line items that many trustees wanted to get rid of. For example, thousands of dollars to Amazon.
$169.99.
Thousands of dollars of cakes for community events.
102 Calumet Bakery.
And tens of thousands of dollars that were allegedly allocated for the one-day event, the Taste of Thornton Township.
We just had a couple events here in the past, month or so, that just extraordinary amount of money was spent unnecessarily.
As for upcoming events, the trustees voted to stop a few, including House Fest and Gospel Fest. Henyard accused the trustees of acting out of spite.
And right now, you guys are operating with hatred in your hearts. You're operating out of feelings. You're not operating with things that's going on, and I don't think that's fair to us. And I don't understand why it's a problem when we got a surplus in Thornton Township thanks to Supervisor Tiffany Henyard once again.
Rather than taking responsibility, Henyard tried to shift the blame onto the trustees for the village's unpaid bills. Meanwhile, she continued using village funds for extravagant events that appeared more focused on promoting her image than on benefiting Dalton.
Begin with another contentious meeting involving Tiffany Henyard.
Tonight, it involves her role as Thornton Township Supervisor. The Board of Trustees voting to cancel upcoming township events, despite Henyard's vote in favor of Gospel Fest, House Fest, Bingo, all failed to pass. The tech-savvy event failed at first, but trustees then approved it with a limited budget. Henyard telling the board their votes were not about the community, but about her.
because them residents love the events that we do here at Thornton Township. And prior to me, y'all have always had events. So I don't understand why it's a problem now that Tiffany Henyard is the supervisor when it wasn't a problem when Frank Zuccarelli was the supervisor.
Now, in her supervisory report, Henyard says she turned the township's financial situation around, claiming it had multi-million-dollar deficits in 2022 when she arrived. Now the township has a surplus totaling $9.7 million.
As expected, tensions between Henyard and the trustees reached a breaking point during a special meeting where the trustees demanded answers. Henyard responded defensively, dismissing the entire session as mere clickbait.
Well, it took no time for this meeting to become combative, with Henyard multiple times questioning why this special meeting was called in the first place when the township was already set to meet next week. Trustees say that this was their way of getting answers.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming out.
Thornton Township called a special meeting. Supervisor Tiffany Henyard called it clickbait.
But it saddens my heart that you are up here at this special meeting and not downstairs where we have big bingo.
She wanted media instead cover an event downstairs.
I'm advising you to make a U-turn and go downstairs because you come for clickbait.
The meeting happened hours after the state comptroller suspended funds to South Suburban Dalton, where Henyard is also mayor. She's being accused of mismanaging taxpayer funds there. It took no time for the township meeting to turn combative.
So why aren't you paying the staff? I don't see the staff on here. I think that's a very important bill to pay.
Former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot was called in to investigate Henyard's alleged corrupt practices. In an attempt to deflect, Henyard blamed the trustees for the village's mounting debt, trying to halt the investigation.
Stop creating chaos.
Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard at the helm of the village's first packed meeting since Dalton trustees passed a resolution last month requiring her to turn over the village's financial records and asking the FBI to investigate her alleged misuse of village funds. The mayor admits to a $2 million deficit, but trustees say it's millions.
In a notably embarrassing move, Henyard attempted to veto the FBI investigation into her actions. However, the trustees swiftly overrode her veto with a majority vote. The investigation's findings revealed that Henyard had been misusing village funds to support her extravagant lifestyle instead of serving the community.
The mayor vetoed their resolution.
The veto message is related to the secret squirrel meetings, yes, that the Board of Trustees have.
The trustees vowed to override her veto. One of them, Kiana Belcher, sitting at the meeting with her portrait because she says it was removed from the wall of Village Hall.
And this is just a process to drag it along, but everybody sees what's going on.
The village, under Henyard's leadership, is cracking down on access, pushing media at tonight's meeting to the very back of the room, almost out of sight of public comment from residents. But their voices were loud and clear.
You lied to us as residents. You do not stand for me. And I want you to step down as mayor today and save our village from this deficit that you have caused.
The mayor can blame everybody for what's going on, but she has to look at herself. Nobody told her to get on TV and lie like that.
Everybody cares about the person that's making a mess.
Henyard placing the blame elsewhere.
But only judge when you got both sides of the story, not one-sided narratives, which is negative narratives in the media.
Rather than addressing the criticisms, Henyard took to social media to attack her detractors. She clearly doesn't appreciate being questioned about her spending habits and tends to lash out or shut down whenever confronted. This behavior is far from what you'd expect from a community leader.
There are a million ways a politician could have answered that question.
Because remember, I got the tea with the receipts. Matter of fact, if you want the tea, get it from me.
Rather than responding to questions from reporters, Henyard makes videos pouncing on her opponents.
Larry the liar, stop it. You caught, poof, be gone, you caught.
And promising answers, but never quite explaining her spending, leadership style, and transparency. And that's evidence of the role personality plays in this story.
You the ones that's costing the village money.
I don't have that call. All right. Okay.
What was she supposed to do? You wanted her to expound? Don't drag out the meeting.
I made a motion.
You see, Tiffany Henyard does not like to be challenged. She demonstrates this at almost every village board meeting when opposition trustees ask her for more information about village vendors and bills before they'll agree to sign off.
But I shouldn't have to sit up here and break all this.
Amid the ongoing drama, Henyard attempted to fire her aide, Keith Freeman, after he began cooperating with the trustees' investigation into village finances. Freeman, who faced accusations of absenteeism and bankruptcy fraud, became yet another source of controversy within Henyard's administration.
Bradley continues his exclusive reporting from Dalton.
Is there a motion to terminate Keith Freeman?
Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard tried to fire her top aide last week, but was met with silence from trustees who refused to vote on the termination.
This what y'all say about the person. Y'all say he's never at work, he'll do his job. Is this what y'all say? So what we doing, guys?
The standoff is surprising given that trustees once despised Village Administrator Keith Freeman for helping Henyard run the show in Dalton and Thornton Township, but he's now cooperating with trustees investigating Henyard's spending.
I had trouble following it as well, but now Keith Freeman is cooperating, doing what he should have been done in the first place.
Cooperating with trustees.
With the trustees, absolutely, doing his job.
The trustees are also pushing to fire Henderson Police Chief Louis Lacey, who is entangled in bank fraud charges. They argue that Lacey is too closely aligned with Henyard and should be removed. Lacey's lawyer contends that federal authorities are targeting him to reach Henyard. However, Lacey's involvement in Henyard's schemes, despite being dismissed by the trustees, only exacerbates the situation. Lacey's continued presence at work has frustrated and outraged board members who view his actions as a blatant disregard for their authority, further intensifying the turmoil.
We were about $6 million in deficit.
But this morning, despite the vote, Lacey still reported to work after Norwood says the deputy chief claims the board had no authority to place him on leave.
That is not true. So we did a vote on it, and our vote is actually valid at the moment. So we were quite surprised when he showed up at work today. We're waiting for the advice of our attorney to figure out our necessary steps legally.
This is political retaliation.
Embattled Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard responded to that vote last night during yet another chaotic meeting amid multiple investigations, including a federal one into her spending of village funds.
The Dalton trustees finally decided they had enough of Henyard's alleged corruption and took steps to investigate her spending, including involving the FBI. They had to meet at the Park District for discussions after Henyard's supporters reportedly locked them out of Village Hall. Some trustees believe Henyard displays narcissistic tendencies, a bold claim. Henyard appears to be showing her true colors. Feeling the pressure, she has engaged in shouting matches with trustees at township meetings, accusing them of a smear campaign. Despite the mounting evidence against her, Henyard seems to be escalating the drama rather than calming down.
Happening tonight, community concerns in Thornton Township and a push to regulate what some call out-of-control spending by Township Supervisor and Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard. NBC5's Lexi Suter has more on tonight's showdown between trustees and Henyard.
Good evening. There were many tense moments in tonight's meeting. At times, Supervisor Tiffany Henyard took on her fellow trustees when it came to money and expenses, even accusing some of them of spreading lies about her.
Please tell me how you're out of order. You're out of order. How do they operate, trustees? How do they operate?
There were countless interactions just like this, elevated voices and heated debates about spending and the lack of a new budget. Several of the trustees questioned much of the township's spending, while Henyard says she's cleaned its finances up.
Y'all thought that I was young, dumb, didn't know nothing, was going to let y'all come and manipulate me. I didn't do any of that. So because I didn't do any of that, you guys started this whole smear campaign.
The controversy has been simmering for a while, but recently it has intensified significantly. The relationship between the mayor and the trustees has been strained, though they managed to keep the power struggle somewhat under wraps until the recent meeting. Despite the trustees postponing the meeting, Henyard proceeded with it on the original date and even appointed a new administrator without the board's approval. This move added more fuel to the fire, especially since Dalton already had an administrator in place.
My next appointment will be for village administrator.
Last night, Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard appointed a new top aide to a $100,000 a year job without board consent. 34-year-old Michael A. Smith, who's been active in South suburban politics for years.
The reason for Mike is he have a wealth of great information. He's a young person and ex-politician. He knows the laws like the back of his hand.
Dalton's newly appointed village administrator, Michael A. Smith, is under scrutiny due to past allegations of sexual harassment and misconduct. Despite the trustees' concerns about his history and the legality of his hiring, Henyard defended her decision to appoint him.
Public reporting shows Smith has been charged at least 8 times with crimes ranging from domestic battery to official misconduct. In 2012, Smith, then a young trustee in Dixmoor, resigned after pleading guilty to theft when he allegedly stole gasoline by posing as a police officer. Then in 2018, Smith was working as an assistant dean at Thornton Fractional High School when he was fired for sexual harassment of a female student, grooming a student with lascivious intent, and inappropriate aggressive behavior towards a male student. According to his termination letter, Smith was accused of contacting a 15-year-old female student on Snapchat with inappropriate comments and making her his girl.
The trustees have pointed out that Henyard frequently ignores their input and hires individuals without proper background checks. They suspect she is aware of their problematic histories but disregards them. Additionally, they have argued that her recent appointments are invalid since they were not approved through a vote.
That's new at 10 tonight. Dalton's embattled mayor addressing the public and taking new action involving village officials. Tonight's regularly scheduled Board of Trustees meeting was canceled because there weren't enough trustees present. But Mayor Tiffany Henyard still showed up and appointed a new village administrator and a new village attorney. Trustee Jason House telling us those appointments are not valid and the appointees will not be paid. Now, this comes on the same day that Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul's office issued a binding opinion saying that Dalton repeatedly violated the Open Meetings Act this summer. The AG is ordering Dalton to make all future meetings convenient and open to the public, and that includes ensuring there is enough space and not closing streets or putting up parking barricades.
In another instance of mismanagement, Henyard deceived the trustees into passing a law that imposed a $500 fine on residents for unspecified loans, rather than the previously set $75. This blatant disregard for the citizens' welfare underscores why the board took action against her. Such actions are sure to provoke outrage.
But with Tiffany Henyard, they raised those fines from $75 to $500 if you did not mow your lawn. And they were trying to bring in revenue for the village. But I went back in time and I looked at the actual board meeting where they voted. She tricked the trustees into voting yes for it without having anything in front of them. She had the lawyer get involved, enacted, and convinced the trustees. The trustees asked, and she pointed out, quite just blankly said, it is just for the vacant homes. This has nothing, and she said word for word, this has nothing to do with the current residents, the people that live in Dalton. Has nothing to do with the people that live at 602 West 7th Street, okay, that occupy their home. This is for the vacant homes only. She convinced the trustees. They were hesitant, but this was back before all the major controversy. And so they decided to pass it because she said it would bring in revenue and that it was only for these vacant homes.
One of the main accusations against Henyard is her misuse of Dalton's finances. Reports indicate she has been spending thousands of taxpayer dollars on personal luxuries, including expensive trips, cars for herself, her mother, and her boyfriend, and even constructing an unauthorized ice rink. She even flaunted the rink on social media, a risky move given her legal troubles. Despite the mounting scrutiny, Henyard continues to mishandle village funds, showing little sign of changing her ways. The ongoing drama in Dalton shows no signs of abating, and with each passing day, it seems increasingly likely that Henyard's time as mayor is coming to an end. Trustees, residents, and investigators are closing in, and it's only a matter of time before the full extent of her actions is revealed. Stay tuned for more updates as this story develops. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments below and hit the bell icon for the latest updates.